Hello and welcome to Legends of the Wind. I am Jurri Schenck, and in studio tonight we have my guest, Mike Smith. Mike, it's great to have you tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'll be delivering Mike his legend a little bit, and I'm excited to give it to you, and I'm sure he's very excited as well to receive it, right?
Absolutely.
That's right. So, one of the things I want you in the audience to know about is I want you to think about what is your life like as a story? Who are you as a hero on the hero's journey? What is it that you want? What is the desire of your heart? And are you going to be courageous enough to pursue it and go after your dream? And then, who are your enemies? Who are your allies? What's the tests that you face along the way so that you can overcome and reach your dream and reach your goals? And so that's kind of the approach we take here at Legends of the Wind. We combine the prophetic with storytelling, and we unlock treasures in people's hearts with those stories. And there are all sorts of meanings in them. These stories are not meant to be taken literally. These are stories that have symbolic meanings, or what we call shadow language, where there's hidden treasures found inside them. So for tonight's show, we're going to have a question. I want you to think about this. Mike, I want you to think about this as well. What do you need to start your adventure? Now, last week we had Karen on our show, and it was an amazing time, and I had learned a lot from her. And it was an amazing broadcast that we learned so much about her life and through her story. Now, I want to talk to you about orders. There are many people have been ordering stories from me from Legends of the Wind where they want to become a legend. And I'm so thankful and grateful for everybody that is willing to trust me to give you their story. And now, one thing's important. If you want to order your own story, go online to legendsofthewind.com, go to the shop or store, and look for Become a Legend. There you can order a story. Now, right now, at this time, we have a 60% off sale where you can get your story for $99. Typically, the full price is $250. Now, when you do order a story, there are some steps involved. You need to sign some agreements, which basically gives you permission or me to have you on the show. Also, it's a contract because it's a financial agreement. And basically, you give me permission to publish your story. And then you need to show up on the show. And there you need a schedule on our calendar. So look for available times there. And we welcome you to be on our show. We've already had many people on this show, and everyone has really benefited from it. So you want to get your own story. I mean, if you knew what story you're in, wouldn't you want to know what it says? Wouldn't you want to find out? That's what we do here, and that's what I bring to you. Now, for those of you who are interested in knowing previous stories, we have my book. This is volume 1. What it is it has 10 short stories, and all these are prophetic stories I wrote for children and adults. Now, you may be thinking, they were written for someone else. Why should I be interested in them? Well, even though they are written for someone who is special, that doesn't mean you won't learn or benefit from the revelations contained in these stories. There's something we can all learn from each other's stories. And by the way, it doesn't have to be deep either. It can be entertaining, and you can be immersed in that world of story. And also, we have an audiobook version of this. And it's not just me having a boring voiceover. There's great music and sound design. And you listen to the world of the story and you get immersed in it. So I highly recommend to go to Amazon and get either a hardcover, a digital version, or an audiobook. You can also find it on our website, legendsofthewind.com. Now, for those of you who are wanting a story, but you want an illustration from my wife, we have a hardcover and a softcover version, and my wife will paint for you an original cover, and we will print one version of your story, and it's contained here in these books, and we give them to you as a special product. So that's all the business we have for now. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you've been waiting, haven't you?
I have been for quite a while.
That's great. So why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Mike Smith. I moved here about 2 years ago from Colorado. I just sensed the Lord telling me this, that I needed a change and more peace in my life, so he brought me here. So now, I'm just, since I've been here, I actually wrote a book. Which
you
I'm
wrote a book too.
Very excited about.
Show the people your book. You should let them have this is your cover, right?
I don't know how well you can see this, but it's a book called Yes You Are, which is meant to uplift and encourage people because of the world being people getting more saying more cruel things to each other on a daily basis, and verbally attacking each other all the time. I wanted the people that were on the receiving end of that, I wanted to give them something that could sit there and say, no, I'm not who those people say I am. I'm who God says I am.
Oh.
So that's why I wrote the book.
That is amazing.
And given the experiences in my own life as well, God was telling me the same thing.
That is beautiful. Mike, thank you. I wish you great success on your book, and I believe something will unfold for you. Now, I want to ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
So, why did you request a prophetic story?
Well, I've sat here, for a while now, and I've watched...
You mean watching the show?
Watching the show.
He's not missed a single broadcast, guys.
No, and I just sat there going, gee whiz, I wonder what kind of story that Jurri would write about me. So, the curiosity, got the cat, so to speak.
Yes.
So I said, hey, why not? Let's give it a shot, see what happens.
Great, and thank you for ordering one. I really appreciate it, and thank you for trusting me to give you your story. Now, as you've watched all these shows, from the viewer's point of view, what did you experience? Tell the people what has happened for you.
I mean, every one of them was different. I sensed like, God was really speaking through you to them, helping them to unlock their potential and other things that may have been bound up by something for a very long time.
And you observe that the stories I deliver are helpful to people?
I believe they are.
And how have they inspired them? Like, kind of unpack that a little bit.
Well, people, like somebody that has had a bad experience in, with relationships in their lives, they turn around, their story gets told, and it may take them a minute to see it, but then they realize, hey, I need to let go of all these other things that, I've been holding on to for so long. Even forgive people for the hurts that they've caused me, because, it was the enemy working through them, not the people themselves.
Right. Wow, that's great insight. Thank you. And I'm glad that the stories that I present give you that impression. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Do you know what time it is?
It's story time.
It's story time. I love saying that. I just happen to naturally come on that. So before we get into it, I want to welcome our chat and our audience. Thank you for watching us tonight. We have Marcia saying hi, everybody. And Alisha and Kylie are saying hi. Thank you very much for watching. And now it's story time. Now let me frame this for you, okay? So I said a little bit ago, these stories are not meant to be taken literally. They are symbolic in nature, even though they may have a realistic kind of feeling to them. And these stories are revelation for me and for you. And then when we read the story, we need to think about an aha moment of interpretation. After we get interpretation, we need to look, well, how do I apply this story to my life, right? And then you get a choice, Mike. With what you do with this story. You can say, yes, I receive this story, or you can say, no, I do not receive this, or you can say, I think I'll wait on it, or you can say, I'll accept parts of it, or reject parts of it. And of course, everyone's drinking from a fire hose who's a guest on this show. For me, I'm reading their story, and this is the first time. You've never heard this story, right? You only know the title, right?
That's it.
So you're drinking from a fire hose. You're going to need a moment and time to process it, right?
Yep.
Are you ready for that?
I am.
Okay, very good. So let's get into the story. All right, guys? All right, here we go. The title is An Inconvenient Meal. At their booth, Mike and the old man were sitting waiting for their food. The restaurant was teeming with people, but they could still hear each other in their conversation. Mike wondered why the old friend summoned him to this meeting. The old man sat with his glass in hand and saw he didn't have any water. He wagged his finger, pointing at Mike, and chuckled. Mike asked, "Why are you pointing at me?" "The adventure awaits you, dear son." The old man smiled. Mike cocked his head and looked at the old man with suspicion. He thought to himself, what is this crazy friend telling me? Mike took a pitcher of water and poured out both their glasses and asked, "Is that why you asked to see me?" The gray-haired man took a swallow of water and set his glass down, thinking. He said, "No, that's only the beginning. I know you've been waiting." Mike smiled and asked, "You mean waiting for my birthday or Christmas?" The old man cleaned his spectacles with his shirt and with some crooked teeth looked at Mike and grinned. "Even better." He then pulled out an envelope from his jacket's chest pocket. The old man laid it on the table and slid it toward Mike, holding it halfway across. Mike reached out for it, but the old man growled, "Not yet! Don't be foolish. You don't know what you're accepting." Mike pulled his hand back and the mood changed, which alarmed him. Mike pondered at this fresh surprise. Was it money? Something else? "Apparently you have something important to give me. I'm sorry," said Mike. "Bah! 'Tis nothing," the old man waved his hand. "But yes, it is important. The journey awaits you. I want you to think about something." The old man gained strength and energy and leaned forward with his elbows on the table. He clasped his hands and became eager. "Think about what you wish for. Is it big enough? Do you dream at night, dear son?" Mike looked down and furrowed his brow. This was a tough question for him. Mike sometimes dreamed, but he could never remember them. Sometimes there were images or whispers of a conversation, but nothing solid to hold on to. "I try. I wish I had more to say," replied Mike. The old man burst into laughter and pointed at Mike again. This behavior offended Mike, and he looked around with indignance and asked, "Are you mocking me? Why are you doing this?" "You have no idea, but I do. I can see it. I can see your future," declared the old man. This comment made Mike realize something that gave him hope. Many years ago, he read in a book or magazine about knowing the future, and that if someone knows where they're going, nothing will stop them. They only need to keep walking. The knowledge of their memory of the future preserves them. Mike asked with sudden glee, "Please, what is it?" The old man leaned back and put one arm on his booth's cushion and grinned. "You tell me." The answer flabbergasted Mike, who just rolled his eyes. This playing of back and forth of expectations frustrated him. With some anger, he said, "You don't know. You know. I don't like games like these. You asked me to meet you today. You try to hand me this mysterious envelope. You laugh and point at me like a crazy man and say the adventure awaits me and that you see my future. What the hell are you talking about?" With a soft, determined voice, the old man replied, "There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Get angry. Get passionate." Mike, still frustrated, replied, "Oh, so you want me to be mad, do you? You're the mad one." The old man sat up and became stern and leaned forward. He motioned with his finger for Mike to come closer. "I have a secret to tell you." Mike grimaced and leaned his ear in. The old man said, "Do you think a hero in a great story should just sit at home and do nothing? Marvelous stories have noble characters with quests of high stakes. The end of the world could happen. What story will you tell generations later? What story is in your heart? What will you believe? What will you become? The adventure awaits you." Mike inhaled and sat back. He thought about these questions and this conversation. Mike realized that this old man sought to awaken his desire and passion, vision and purpose, and hope to see a better future. "What's in the envelope?" Mike asked. The old man smiled and replied, "Go ahead. Open it. It's yours. Forever." Mike opened the envelope and pulled out a golden ticket with his name on it. It said, "Dreams Fulfilled." Mike asked, "What do I do with this?" "Whatever you wish," replied the old man. "I could have given you a plain white blank check, but I thought the golden ticket would be more dramatic," he chuckled. "Listen to me. While the world looks like it's about to crumble, fall apart, and crash, I want you to know your destiny is at hand. There's more going on than you realize. There is an opportunity for your desire to awaken. I want you to dream bigger dreams and go after them. Your heart, your emotions, your visions, your passions, and your love for mankind are valuable to the heavens. Sometimes going forward without everything figured out makes all the things interesting, doesn't it? A sparkle of light gleamed in the old man's eyes. Is my future safe? Asked Mike. Hardly, laughed the old man. But if there isn't conflict and high stakes, does that make an exciting story? Mike, you've got what it takes. Your desires have come from heaven. Your heart is pure. Running the race doesn't mean you sit back at home or stay in the pew, does it? Nah. This is your adventure and this is your quest. But what is it? Permission. Permission granted. I approve. Your heart's desires are awakening. I can see it. You don't have to wait any longer. Go. Just go after the sunset and see the stars at night guide you. See the moon shine her protection on you. You have love in your heart, full of wisdom and knowledge. You just needed a good kick in the butt, didn't you? Mike picked up his golden ticket and looked it over with careful eyes. He smiled and replied, "Yes, I am the hero in my story." He nodded to himself and chewed over the deep conversation. Confidence filled his heart, and he grinned at the old man. "Do I have to do it alone?" "Of course not. But remember, sometimes you are solo," replied the old man. Mike thought some more and asked, "Will you come with me?" "I'm glad you asked," grinned the old man. "But I can only go with you so far. Once my quest is complete, then you will meet another younger man and sit down with him at a booth, just like this." Mike moved to get out of his seat and asked, "Then let's go." But the old man grabbed Mike's arm and said, "Do you want this? Do you believe?" Mike stood up and looked down at the old man and replied, "Yes. Now that I know I don't have to be afraid of my dreams and desires, I guess I can help others go on their quest too." The old man scooted out of the booth and stood. Mike said, "We didn't even receive our food." The old man laughed. "That wasn't why I called you." "But now, let's go." Inceptio.
Wow.
That's your story.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
So, for you in the audience, Mike is now processing his story. It's a great story, isn't it, Mike?
It's awesome.
How do you feel?
I'm enlightened in a way.
Tell me about that. What does that look like to you?
I mean, I think back to parts of the story that you read,
Mm-hmm.
and starting with the old man.
Yes.
and the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I used to work in a restaurant when I was in high school,
Okay.
but I don't remember any old man with glasses there. And then I worked at the stadiums in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't remember any old man there either.
Mm.
What I do remember was a calling on my life way back many, many, many years ago.
What age was that happening?
I was probably 20s.
Okay. Cool.
I used to go to a church down there with a guy with blonde hair that did wear glasses.
Okay.
Whether that was the old man or not, I don't know.
Okay.
What I do know was I saw a vision back then of me,
Mm-hmm.
being a pastor over a very large congregation of arena size.
Wow.
But there was so many negative things going on in my life, I just kind of just shoved it off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it kind of gnawed at me here and there a little bit, but I never pursued it because with the things that I've been through emotionally, the confidence just wasn't there to pursue it.
I see.
So,
Wow.
and then I came up here, and all of a sudden it was like God started unleashing things in me.
Great. That's a great background and a great story. And we're going to answer that in a little bit. Marcia says, does the old man represent wisdom? So you were just saying possible. You were looking for an old man in your past. Mm-hmm. You were taking the story literally.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, I kind of think the old man might be the Holy Spirit in a way.
Sure. It can represent a mentor, a spiritual being, Father God, or the spirit of wisdom. And so he represents like a father figure to you, right? And so if you were to think symbolically about him cleaning the glasses, what would that be?
In some ways, I think cleaning the glasses represents removing the fog or whatever you want to call it.
Sure, or the dirt.
From my eyes.
Yeah.
So I could see.
There you go.
What God really has.
There you go. Right. That's how we're doing this here. Mm-hmm. We're learning to unpack it symbolically. We're looking at, it's called thinking mythically. Thinking mythically means what's the story saying, not in its literal form, but it's in its function. Mm-hmm. Now, in every classical story or myth, there's a first act. Mm-hmm. And then there's a transition to the second act. Right. So the first act sets up the hero and the bad guy, and there's a call to adventure. There's some sort of quest given, and then the hero feels insecure and is like, oh, I don't know if I have the confidence to do it. I'm reluctant. And then someone shows up and speaks life to the hero. Oh, it could be a wise old man. It could be Obi-Wan Kenobi. It could be Morpheus in the Matrix. And then that mentor figure hands them something that the hero needs. It could be confidence. It could be a lightsaber. It could be a choice between the red pill and the blue pill. And it gives them the influx in their heart to go forward. And then when they make the decision to go and they're actively choosing their adventure, then they cross over into the magical land. And that's Act 2. Your legend, Mike, this story, is that very kind of scene. You are now being given the confidence you need to pursue your heart's dream and your heart's desires. And you said something before the show started about a house and about a property. And you said, if the Lord wills.
Right.
Well, I want to try to reframe that a little. It's not that you're trying to be rebellious or go outside will. But what's important is that your desires of your heart are valuable. And not every desire is truly from heaven, but some are. Some things in your heart are given from heaven. And you don't necessarily need to wait for that pursuit to start. It's like, I'm just going to sit back in my pew or in my chair and go, okay, I'm waiting. No, a hero in the story is active. And they go for it and they pursue it. And sometimes God goes, okay, you believe? Just do it. Go for it. Of course, there's a saying, he can't move a parked car, right?
That's true.
And that's where you've been, right? You've needed the confidence. You've needed the initiation. What this old man is doing is initiating you. Initiation is a mythical, wonderful thing that many in our American culture have lost and don't even have. It's kind of like a chief in a tribe, and a young 13-year-old boy is, surrounded by other warriors in the tribe at night, and they have a campfire and they have their spears, and they're doing some sort of ceremony, and they initiate that young kid into manhood. And this day, you are no longer a child. This day, you are a son. And I don't just say that as an example from a mythical story point of view. I am saying that from heaven right now, today, to you, from heaven's authority. You are no longer a passive child. You are an active son, proactive son, where you are now given the permission to pursue. That's your mission now. You're not waiting anymore. Yeah, will there be waiting times after you make the decision to agree with the quest? Yes. Will there be opposition? Yes. Will there be challenges to overcome? Yes. But you are an overcomer, right?
I am.
There you go. Good. Now, I kind of help you get the foundation here. Now, I want to look at chat real quick. So, Joy Malcolm says, hi, Mike. Kylie says, Dad has a book. Yes, and so does Mike. Mike and I have a book. Elizabeth Grecu says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Marcia says, vision can be what you see is how you see. And the light in your house is reflecting so that Dad looks like an angel. Oh, I've become an angel. Thank you. Well, that's great. So we've laid this foundation. And by the way, thank you for the chat. We want to welcome you in the chat. We're not dismissing you. If you have a comment or question for Mike or me, please do speak up and answer, or we'll answer them. And we welcome your interaction. We value it. That's the beauty of a live show. I take a huge risk giving these stories blind to a person as a guest, either in person or online. And that's the risk I'm willing to take. So we've laid the foundation, kind of jumping right in. We laid the foundation. Now, what do you see in this story for you? What is it that, we're looking at interpretation still. What other interpretation do you see in your story? Can you think of anything?
Well, when you talk about things happening in the future,
yes,
it was interesting to me that after I wrote the rough draft of this book, that it was prophesied over me that I had better get ready to start doing a lot of traveling. So
there it is, guys.
Which may mean speaking in front of people, which I haven't done,
right?
To a large degree. So I'm like, okay, Lord, I need you to give me the courage and the confidence to do so, given all the things that have happened. Being beat up emotionally a lot of times.
I understand.
So, I have to more heavily rely on God to give me what I need to make these things happen.
Sure. Right.
So.
Awesome. I understand. And there's like an example in nature about this. Some trees that are planted as a seed, they grow up, but they're fruit-bearing trees, but they don't bear fruit, right?
Right.
Some trees bear fruit later in life. Does that mean that they're the wrong tree?
Nope.
No, it doesn't. It just means that at the right time, they're ready to the blossoms and the bear fruit. And I see that in you. You have good many years ahead of you, Mike, just because of your chronological journey and your age. Does not disqualify you of the significance or the impact that you're going to bring. You saw that vision in your 20s, right? That was like the seed. Then you went through difficulties growing up.
A lot of trials.
With bullying, right? You told me.
Bullying as a child and other things as an adult.
That's right. And so then that vision came and gave him a direction and a purpose. In your story, it talked about if you know where you're going in the future, nothing can stop you from getting there unless you stop walking. And you've been walking, haven't you?
Yes.
Now, there's a mentor figure of my life named Kim Clement. And he sent me an email long ago when he was still alive. And he talked about how the anointing oil in the Jewish culture was made. And it was oil, olive oil, and bitter and sweet spices. And they were pounded and pounded and pounded over and over and over, beaten into this oil. And that was what created the fragrance that came out of the oil when it was poured and put to use. So all of your beating, I'm speaking figuratively now, or it may be naturally, but all the suffering you've gone through have been those bitter and sweet spices pounded together and created what you carry. And that is what you're going to pour out. And that's the impact and the blessing you're going to bring to many people. Now, is it a literal stadium in his vision? It could be. It could be television, it could be radio, it could be like this, a broadcast on the internet. I mean, who knows? He will find out on his journey. So Renee is speaking on the chat. He says, just want to congratulate Mike for his book.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Renee. That's
very good friends of mine.
That's wonderful. And that's what you need on this journey, is a great friends.
Yes.
Someone many people to encourage you. And you're going to need it, Mike.
Yes.
It won't be a bed of roses, but that doesn't matter because you have what it takes to overcome, and that there's the confidence. So I want you to know that today, I'm going to say it again, you're no longer a passive child. You are a proactive son, and heaven initiates you in the ceremony of this story today. And that's what the old man represents, is that initiator, that father, the mentor. You know, he's kind of colorful, isn't he?
He is.
He's
absolutely.
He's not bland, right?
No, not
right?
in the least.
Yeah. And I remember there's one of the stories from Narnia. It was Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, where Lucy's like asking someone, Tumnus, the fawn. He's like, is he safe? No, but he's good. And there's a difference there, right? He's not safe, but he's good. And you know what? He trusts you. The Lion of Judah trusts you on this adventure, and he's going to go with you along the way. So that's beautiful. Is there any other comments? Let's see. Kylie's really encouraging people. Thank you, Kylie. Don't overdo it, please.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, too.
Yes.
You know, that Renee and her husband, Leon Patillo,
okay,
approached me a couple years ago, and they've been absolutely wonderful, a wonderful part of my life. I'm actually on his newest CD.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you singing or playing an instrument?
Well, you can't. I'm part of a chorus, so you can't tell it's me.
Okay.
But yes.
So you were doing music together?
Yeah. Well, I sang from my house, and then I sent the recording to him, and they mixed it in.
What? That's right. So what kind of style of music is it?
It's Christian.
Okay.
It was awesome. You know, it was an honor to be able to participate in that.
That's cool.
And they've been so supportive ever since. Yeah.
Now, you had said something previously before the show started that after the book got started and written, and then you got the publisher, new things started showing up, right?
Yes.
New people started showing up. Can you tell the audience about that? Like, what is the new things that are opening up for you?
Well, one of the things that opened up was one of the groups that I became part of. A lady reached out to me right after, didn't even really know me at all, and she invited me to come on her radio show, which should be happening soon.
Great.
And I sensed that between the radio show and this broadcast here, that this is just the beginning of some amazing things doors that God's going to open as a result of this book that I wrote.
It's so good. That's great. And so the thing about when in a hero's journey in a mythical structure, when you cross the threshold into the magical land, there are several things that happen. And I want you to listen to me and think symbolically. So these things I'm going to describe are symbols, but they can manifest in natural ways. Okay? So usually the first thing that happens in Act 2, at the beginning, is called a threshold guardian. It could be the dragon guarding a gate, literally a beast, of an enemy of some kind that needs to be either killed or changed in like a magical potion or a trickery or solving a riddle, and then you cross over and you're now through into the magical land. You've overcome the threshold guardian. Now, you just mentioned good friends, and then Renee says, we appreciate you, Mike. So part of entering in is that you have allies. Mm-hmm. New people show up, or people of your past that you may have not been as connected come back and reconnect with you. And then you have strengthening. Then there are new challenges come. my family, we just watched the original Avatar movie on Disney. And one of the cool things about Act 2 for the main character is there's a training sequence. This guy figures out how to run with legs that he never knew how he could use. He learned all sorts of things. And so, Mike, you're going to learn new things that may be uncomfortable, but you're going to have a training sequence that's going to be new in this another realm. And it may not be like learning how to fight or a computer program like your background in IT. It might be learning how to give a speech. It might be learning how to do an interview. Whatever it is, it will be a matter fitted for your field. Mm-hmm. And then there's enemies. And then like on the internet, we have trolls. And then the enemy of the mind comes. Mm-hmm. One thing I want to speak to you about the enemy of the mind for you is, Mike, stop underestimating yourself.
You're right.
That's the biggest one for you, isn't it?
You're absolutely right.
That's the biggest thing.
I do underestimate myself based on all the things that have gone on in my life.
Right. And those sufferings and abuse sent a message that you don't have what it takes. Right?
Yep.
But actually, the reason you were attacked is they call it over the target. That means that you're a threat.
I hope so.
In a way of demolishing strongholds of minds and thoughts and the enemy. And so, of course, they come after you, and you suffered.
Yes.
Well, that means that you're qualified, and that you do have what it takes, and that the lie is a lie that you don't have what it takes. The truth, I'm being really basic right now.
No,
the truth is you do have what it takes. And everything that you acquired and learned from the crap that you went through and all the pain and anger and suffering will equip you. You can use it for darkness and turning against yourself and hating yourself and disqualifying yourself. Or you can say, I beat the bear. I killed the lion. Now, where's my Goliath?
Right.
Show him to me.
Yep.
And that's the thing that tonight is for you, is to instill that confidence in you that you will be able to slay the dragons. You will be able to take the boss men out and the giants and all that. That is in your DNA. You have been prepared and fashioned for now. Sound good? Cool.
Sounds great.
Now, one of the other things is tests in the second act. So one of the things in Avatar is that the hero had to see, well, what kind of flying beast will choose him. And the way the beast chooses him is that he will fight you. So the hero goes up and he goes to where all these flying beasts are located in their nest, and they just fly away. But then one goes, Arr, and comes after him. And the test of the hero is, will he get to ride that wild stallion, that wild beast, that horse? And so what's interesting about tests is the tests choose you, Mike.
Yeah, I found that out.
You understand that, don't you?
Yes.
Tests choose you. Now, the thing is you have to learn how to ride them and pass the test.
That's true.
And I think there's more significance than that whole picture, if you think about symbolically, that speaks to you, right? Mm-hmm. Great. Renee says, we appreciate you, Mike. Amen. Fantastic. Now, like I said, anybody in the chat, please ask a question. If you have a question about storytelling and how does it work with the prophetic, put that out there. Let me know. I'll let Mike know. Ask Mike a question. We are wanting to do that for you, to help have a conversation. So, Mike, are you encouraged?
I am.
How do you feel on the inside right now?
I think, this basically is telling me that doors are going to start unlocking.
Yes.
That either I kept locked for a lot of years or somebody else kept locked. Mm-hmm. That now God is starting to release those things so that I can see what's on the other side, which I feel is going to be glorious.
Right. There's a saying from Kim Clement that goes along with that. He says, I see you in the future, and you look much better there than you look right now. Right? And there's another story or something like this is where you got your sword in your hand you're facing the enemy who is bigger than you, stronger than you, nastier than you, and you've got your sword. What you need to do is look beyond the enemy and still hold on to the vision of the future, and keep that in your mind and your focus and your attention. Yeah. And when you keep seeing that, you're going to go through and defeat the enemy. You have to hold on to it. That's what we call faith, right? We think that faith is like this weird religious term. No, it's just believing and seeing it. Marcia has a question. Thank you, Marcia. Mike, what will you do with this story? How will you use it in your journey? Now, Marcia's got it. We talked about revelation. That's what this story is. We've now talked about interpretation. Mm-hmm. Now Marcia's saying application.
Right.
So that means there's action to be taken. Sometimes it's a verbal or mental decision. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a physical thing to do. But what do you think? What's on your heart? What's the thing rising up?
Well, I mean, one of the things that that came to mind here while you were talking mm-hmm. was, the enemy, our spiritual enemy, want me to think at my age I blew it.
Ah.
But then God turns around and says, "No, you haven't blown it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what you were due to experience got delayed.
Right.
And now it's about to become a reality for you."
There you go. You know who Morgan Freeman is, right?
Oh, very much.
Well, what was the first movie he really showed up and then shined? I know it.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. I know which one.
It's the prison movie, right?
Yes.
Shawshank Redemption.
That's right. I never saw that movie.
Now,
actually.
He was an older gentleman at that time, right?
That's true.
And now, look how famous he is.
Yep.
Look how successful and significant work he's done. Mm-hmm. He still was an actor long before that.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't have his moment until later.
Right.
Same thing with you. So you're in the great company of Morgan Freeman.
I hope so.
And so sometime years ago, someone called about what I do. I'm making a pun, a play of words here. It's called the Schenck Redemption, not the Shawshank Redemption.
I like that.
So, you and I, we're sitting here on this hot roof drinking beers because we just tarred a roof together in this prison cell, in this prison. And so that's what the life that's coming to you. In the Shawshank Redemption, there's a saying that's repeated. It's called "Get busy living" mm-hmm. or "Get busy dying." There's something so beautiful about Stephen King's storytelling in that film. That movie was brilliantly made, and the acting and the writing and the performances were great. And even though they weren't made by Christians, they still really speak to our hearts even to now. Mm-hmm. Mike, get busy living.
Okay.
You are just like Morgan Freeman, and that's fine. That's fine, and that's a revelation you have. If you have anything else, let me know. I'm going to go back to the chat. So Renee is encouraging you. She says, "You ain't seen nothing yet."
Thank you, Renee.
and then Alisha and Kylie are saying, that's my wife and daughter, is a good question, right?
Yes.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask, something came to me just now. I'm going to be delicate with you.
Okay.
I've dealt with suicidal thoughts many times in my life.
Yes.
Would you say the same?
I would say that, but not to the point where I really seriously considered going through it.
I understand. But there's been a bit of hopelessness.
Well, there was for a long time.
Yes.
One of the things that gave me hope when I felt I didn't have hope from others was my children. Mm. Even though I didn't get to spend much time around them, mm-hmm. I kind of lived for them. Because
I see.
I didn't want to see them not have a dad.
Yes.
And have that question why burning in their minds for the rest of their life. So
I hear you.
They kept me going for a long time.
Yeah, and I live for that very reason as well.
Yeah.
To live for Kylie and Alisha.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that came to me, is that this story, your legend, is meant to keep you alive. Right?
Yep.
It's not meant for the plan of the enemy to succeed, which is for you to die.
Right.
To physically die, emotionally die, or your dream and your desire to die.
Right.
This is meant to give you life. I'm actually going to take a huge risk by saying this. I believe we're coming into a time in the natural that people will be living much longer than normal. That they have their life literally extended to them. And that they'll be empowered to fulfill their assignment literally for longer years. And I don't mean like in a walker and in a wheelchair and you're 90 or 100 years old. I literally can see in the future, in this present time, that there's something going to be empowering people from the Spirit of heaven to give them legs to live longer and to apply their purpose longer. And I believe that for you, Mike. Mm-hmm. I believe that this legend will give you literal life for you, and that the things that he's going to show you in your mind's eye, in your spirit, are going to give you that energy and the purpose, the dunamis power to empower you to go forward and literally physically live longer, and with health, with energy, with strength, with cognitive ability, not dementia, not Alzheimer's, not a decline, even with your eyes. I'm actually seeing your natural eyes being just fine, and they'll stay fine. I see the crystal clear eyes, and as you look crystal clear in your future with the stories spoken, then you're going to see in your eyes naturally, and you're going to have good health. Heart is good, kidneys are good, stomach's good, brain is good, everything. You got the full package. I think that there's something so valuable about what you have inside your heart to offer in your book and other writings that you're going to do and other whatever the engagements will be. That's what's going to happen, and I believe that for you. I see that for you. Thank you. Yeah. So, well, guys, you've been really wonderful talking in the chat. We've been on, oh my gosh, it's 49 minutes in.
Wow.
We've really kept it going, haven't we? We've got 11 people watching on this live broadcast. Thank you for watching us tonight. Now, I want to encourage you. Mike, would you recommend to people watching the show either live or on the replay, what would you tell them to encourage them to get their own story?
I absolutely would recommend that you get your own story. It's amazing to me how these stories just speak to you. The stories I've listened to in past weeks, as well as my own story, it's just been phenomenal as far as I'm concerned. Anybody that would like to know, what's being said about what their story is, should get one. Absolutely.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you. We want to help unpack your story, so we want you to come alive. We want you to be encouraged and strengthened. And this is a unique way of doing this, of speaking prophetically. So that's what I carry. I'm, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this because I want to give people the urgency in their heart to go after their dreams. So if you want to order a story, go to legendsthewind.com, go to the store under shop, look for Become a Legend. Like I said before, we are on a sale. Excuse me, we have 60% off, and the full price is $250, but right now we're offering it to you for $99. If you sign up for Become a Legend, there'll be a couple of legal agreements so that you can appear on the show, and also I can write you your story and publish it. And then, of course, you'll need to be on the show, and we'll schedule you, so you'll need to find a time that works for you, and we'll schedule you to be on the show. And remember that there's also these books covers that my wife Alisha Choi has done, and they can be hard or soft bound, and these are original designs done by her just for you, for your story. These are single prints. They're high quality crafted artistic pieces of work, and I recommend them to you as well. And don't forget to order our book from Legends Win Volume 1. You can get it as an audiobook, and everything is online on Amazon or legendswin.com. So thank you for supporting us. Our show is typically on Mondays and Thursdays. So look for a scheduled event on our subscription with YouTube. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please like this show. Please hit the bell button and be aware of other future broadcasts. We desperately really want to encourage people so that they can find out about our show. And so spread the word. Tell people about it. Share this with your friends and family, and let people know about what the stories we're telling here. And go back and look at other previous episodes. Enjoy what other people have experienced, because everybody's story is so unique and different. Right, Mike?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're all so different. And we want to encourage you to just look at them and spend time chewing on their revelations. And just because their story is written for someone else, that doesn't mean you won't benefit from it. There are many things you can learn from other people's stories, just like your testimony or someone else's, right? So thank you very much. If you want to reach me on email, I can be found at support@legendsofthewind.com. And thank you very much for watching tonight. Marcia says, Jurri's book is so good. Thank you so much for your support, Marcia. Again, thank you. You've been great. And everybody, thank you for watching the show. So, Mike, would you like to say goodbye to our friends out there?
Yes, I want to thank everybody that came tonight for watching. It really means a lot to me that you would participate in this event.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. It's so good. Thank you very much. I'll be getting you a copy here for your story and everything, and it'll be great. So stay here, of course. We'll have a talk afterward. And guys, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you soon. Good night.